Since ancient times, humanity has turned to certain substances to alter its perception of reality. Among them, alcohol has always held a special place. It has been celebrated in festivals, prescribed as medicine in antiquity, and embraced as playa, a symbol of pleasure, escape, and even communion. Yet few pause to question its true nature. What happens when we look at alcohol not as a social lubricant or entertainment, but through the lens of the spirit? The very word alcohol comes from the Arabic al-Kuhul or ogul, terms used in medieval alchemy to describe a fine black powder. Hidden within this etymology is a deeper meaning, a force that separates the essence from the body. Symbolically, this is precisely what occurs when alcohol is consumed. It fragments awareness, disconnects spirit from matter, and weakens the bridge between the physical and the divine. But what if alcohol does more than cloud the mind and damage the body? What if it also veils the soul, obscuring our perception of higher realms? In this exploration, we will dive into the spiritual consequences of drinking alcohol. We will trace its mystical origins, examine its relationship with vital energy, and uncover how it reshapes human consciousness. We will revisit the ancient warnings from esoteric teachings to ancestral traditions that spoke of its hidden dangers. The double face of alcohol throughout history. Alcohol has been both praised as a drink of the gods and condemned as a trial for the human spirit. Civilizations across the world used it in sacred rituals, celebrations, and even shamanic practices. Yet spiritual and philosophical traditions rarely agreed on its role. In Buddhism, the fifth precept warns against intoxicants, teaching that they cloud the mind, generate negative karma, and distance the practitioner from awakening. In Hinduism, the sacred soma is revered, but ordinary alcohol is viewed as an obstacle to ascension. In Islam, the Quran is unequivocal. Alcohol is a deception of Satan, leading humanity away from truth and clarity. In Christianity, wine appears in the Bible and in the Last Supper itself. Yet many sects condemned its abuse as a gateway to sin and loss of control over the soul. In shamanic traditions, powerful plants are used for healing and vision, but alcohol is rarely part of purification. In fact, some shamans claim that alcohol opens portals for low-vibrational entities to attach themselves to the drinker. The spiritual disconnection esoteric teachings describe the human being as more than flesh and bone. We are surrounded by fields of vibration, what many call the aura, the astral body, or the subtle vehicles of consciousness. In a sober state, these fields remain coherent and protective. Under intoxication, however, this natural shield weakens in drunkenness. Consciousness fragments, willpower diminishes, and the astral body becomes unstable. It is in this state that heavy emotions, anger, grief, confusion take over, and external energies find their way in. This is why so many cultures refer to alcohol as spirits. The drink is not only fermented matter, but also a key that can open doors to unseen dimensions. Ancient mystics taught that the refinement of the soul required purity of body, mind, spirit. Substances that disrupted this balance were considered obstacles on the path to illumination. Alcohol, far from being a harmless indulgence, was seen as a subtle solvent of the spirit of force that could dissolve awareness itself. The vibrational descent, everything in the universe vibrates. By states such as love, gratitude, and peace carry elevated frequencies. Heavy states such as fear, anger, or attachment resonate at lower frequencies. Practices like fasting, meditation, and communion with nature raise vibration, while pull it downward. Alcohol lowers the vibrational frequency of the human energy field. A person who drinks heavily feels their aura weaken, leaving the astral body exposed. The descent invites dense emotions to dominate, creating confusion and despair. Many report a sense of emptiness or oppression after drinking, as though something foreign had entered their energetic space. The higher self-silence, perhaps the greatest spiritual cost of alcohol, is the disconnection from the higher self, the inner guide, the silent voice of wisdom. When the body is intoxicated, clarity fades, intuition is muffled, and the divine spark within is muted. In yogic tradition, enlightenment requires the flow of prana-vital energy through clear and open channels. Alcohol blocks this flow, especially within the chakras. The third eye, or ajna, becomes clouded, weakening intuition and vision. The solar plexus, or manipura, which governs willpower and discipline, loses strength, leaving one vulnerable to impulses and external influence. A hidden knowledge from sages of old to major world religions. The message is consistent. Alcohol is more than a physical drink. It is an agent of separation, an energetic disruptor, a shadow over consciousness. What we consume does not only shape our bodies, it reshapes our vibration, our awareness, and our connection with the universe. To understand alcohol spiritually, to recognize that every sip has consequences beyond the material. It touches the soul, lowers the shield of the spirit, and distances us from the higher frequencies of truth. Put the throat chakra and the illusion of alcohol, the throat chakra, known in Sanskrit as Vishuddha, governs communication and truth. When this center is clouded, our words lose alignment with the higher self. This is why so many people, under the influence of alcohol, speak words they later regret, disconnected from wisdom and discernment. We become vulnerable to impulses and hidden desires. From a karmic perspective, every action carries weight in our spiritual evolution. If alcohol leads us to reckless behavior, we generate karma that must later be balanced. Broken promises, hurtful words, or even acts of aggression under its influence. We've karmic bonds with others' threads that may need resolution not only in this life, but in future incarnations. Over time, alcohol can become a karmic prison, repeating cycles of self-destruction and spiritual disconnection. Mystical traditions remind us the reality we experience is nothing but a reflection of our inner state. Clarity of mind and presence of spirit allow us to perceive the subtle patterns that shape existence. Yet alcohol creates a fog that blurs this perception. Under its spell, the mind is more susceptible to illusions and deceptions, unable to distinguish truth from falsehood in the path of inner alchemy. This confusion is seen as self-deception, a veil that distances the soul from its true mission. Spiritual awakening, say the mystics, is the art of lifting these veils. To seek truth, one must cultivate a clear mind, a pure heart, and an unshakable spirit. Alcohol, however, thickens the veil, delaying our union with universal wisdom. Another perspective is that of soul fragmentation. Across many ancient cultures, mystics and shamans described how trauma, unconscious acts, or choices against our inner voice can fracture the wholeness of the soul. When someone drinks excessively, moments of blackout or memory loss are not just failures of the brain. They represent temporary tears in the energetic field. Each episode of intoxication weakens the cohesion of the soul, leaving a lingering sense of emptiness. Those who have lived years in addiction often describe feeling as if a part of themselves has been lost. From an esoteric lens, this is not a metaphor, but an energetic reality. Healing then requires soul reintegration. Practices a return to unity. One of the fundamental laws of the universe is the law of attraction. Our vibration determines what we draw into our lives. Alcohol alters that vibration, lowering it, tuning us into chaotic frequencies. As a result, life mirrors that dissonance. Relationships falter, conflicts intensify, unexpected problems arise. This is not coincidence, is resonance. Sages have long taught that harmony requires purity of thought, emotion, and action. Pay substances that alter consciousness disrupt that balance, distancing us from our highest purpose. Esoteric teachings also speak of spiritual guardians, luminous beings who guide and protect souls along their path. Yet these guardians work with consciousness and free will. When alcohol clouds the mind and emotions, their light cannot intervene with the same strength. In those moments, the soul drifts, exposed to forces that do not serve its growth. To walk the path of awakening, one must remember, every choice shapes not only this moment, but eternity. And the throat chakra, the sacred gateway of truth, requires clarity, not intoxication, to fully resonate with the divine. Asterisk in that state, a person becomes more vulnerable to external influences, whether it is dense energies, destructive thoughts, or lower astral entities. The spiritual field weakens. This is why many ancient cultures regarded alcohol as something that broke the bond with the divine. They believed that the spirit must remain firm and rooted at its center in order to receive guidance and protection along the sacred path. Up to this point, we have uncovered the spiritual consequences of alcohol, the fragmentation of the soul, the distortion of perception, the attraction of heavy energies, and the disconnection from the higher self. Yet, esoteric wisdom does not merely warn of dangers. It also provides pathways to heal, cleanse, and restore clarity. Next. We will explore practical and spiritual methods to cleanse the energetic field, reawaken the connection with higher consciousness, and strengthen inner will. For all ancient traditions, the purity of the body was seen as a reflection of the purity of the soul. When the body has been affected by substances that weaken its vibration, it becomes essential to begin a process of both physical and spiritual detoxification. Sacred practices for purification. Conscious fasting. Fasting allows the body to eliminate accumulated toxins and return to its natural balance. In many traditions, fasting is a doorway to cleanse not only the body but also the mind and spirit. Herbal infusions. Plants such as milk thistle, dandelion, and nettle have long been used to purify the liver, the organ most harmed by alcohol. Solar-charged water. Drinking water exposed to the sun in a blue glass container is believed to recharge vital energy and clear harmful energetic imprints. Spiritual practices for clarity. Mindful meditation. Focusing on the breath calms the mind and restores mental control. Automatic writing, journaling thoughts and emotions, allows unconscious patterns to surface and be released. Sacred silence, spending time away from noise and distractions, strengthens the connection with the inner voice. The aura and chakras are deeply affected by alcohol, often leaving cracks and imbalances in the subtle field. To restore harmony, one must work on energetic healing, salt and herb baths, immersing in water infused with sea salt and plants like rosemary or lavender removes stagnant energies. Grounding practices. Walking barefoot on earth reaches us to the planetary field and stabilizes the energy body. Sacred fire cleansing. Lighting a candle or burning incense with clear intention is an ancient way to purify personal energy. High vibration sounds, mantras, Tibetan bowls, and solfeggio frequencies can repair imbalances in the aura and realign the chakras. When alcohol disrupts the connection with the higher self, it becomes vital to restore the link with the divine essence. This is not done overnight. It requires consistency, introspection, and openness of heart. Prayer and devotion. Regardless of belief, the act of sincerely raising intention and communicating with the divine is powerful. Sacred symbols, working with spiritual archetypes, sigils, and geometric patterns, reminds the soul of its higher nature. The journey is one of cleansing, remembrance, and return. A return to the clarity of spirit, to the strength of will, and to the guidance of the higher self that never left, only waited for us to listen once more. Asterisk, meditating with sacred geometry. Practices such as contemplating the flower of life or the Sri Yantra help align human consciousness with higher planes of reality. The golden cord visualization. Imagining a ray of golden light descending from the crown chakra and extending infinitely into the cosmos is a powerful technique to restore the spiritual connection that alcohol often disrupts. For those who have used alcohol as an escape or a social habit, it becomes essential to reconfigure the relationship with the substance and with one's own identity. Techniques for inner transformation, powerful affirmations, repeating phrases such as, "My body is a temple of pure energy," or "I am in harmony with my true essence," helps anchor new beliefs into the subconscious, changing habits and environments. Surrounding oneself with people and spaces that elevate consciousness and personal growth is key to sustaining transformation. Self-healing practices, energy therapy, conscious hypnosis, and transpersonal psychology can help address the deeper roots of alcohol use. True spiritual transformation is not simply about quitting alcohol. It is about reclaiming sovereignty over one's own consciousness. The vital force that was once scattered through intoxication can be redirected towards expanding perception, elevating vibration, and aligning with the purpose of the soul. The path of healing is ultimately a return to inner power, a return to the wisdom of the ancients, a return to the eternal light that lives within every being. Final reflection. This journey through the spiritual consequences of alcohol has revealed an undeniable truth. This substance does not only alter the body and the mind, it profoundly impacts energy, soul, and divine connection. Across cultures and throughout history, countless traditions have warned us. Alcohol was never seen only as an intoxicating liquid, but as a veil that clouds perception and distances the individual from their purest essence. Yet, the true teaching is not about fear or prohibition. It is about choice. The choice of clarity over confusion, consciousness over illusion, elevation over stagnation. Every human being is free to decide what to consume, what to allow into the body, and what to feed the soul. But with that freedom comes responsibility to remain aware of the consequences of each choice. Spiritual awakening is not about denying the material world. It is about learning to navigate it without falling into its traps. Yes, it is possible to live in joy, fullness, and deep connection without substances that fragment energy and weaken spirit. And if you have reached this point, it is because something deep within you is searching, an inner call to clarity, balance, and expansion of consciousness. That is the real key to return to yourself, to reconnect with your power, to vibrate in your highest expression. The choice is yours. You hold the power to transform your energy, to restore your essence, and to walk toward a higher version of yourself.